These 6 tips about filming real estate are what the 1% of real estate videographers use to film world-class videos. And these same principles took me from being a complete beginner at 16 years old to now filming the most expensive homes in my city at the age of 21. So let's get right into tip number 1. Tip number 1 is shooting for the edit. Amateur videographers, they shoot whatever. They shoot anything and everything, and then they try to piece it all together later in the edit. Whereas professionals, they know exactly what they're shooting and how they're going to implement that into the edit and make it cohesive. So as you're shooting, try to take mental notes of the shots that you're getting and thinking about how you can use those in the edit, whether they're going to be transitions or connectors or maybe intro shots. Start to kind of train yourself to visualize the final product in your mind as you're shooting. It doesn't have to be clear. It doesn't have to be exactly how it ends up as the final product, but be thinking in that manner with the edit in mind so that when you get into the edit, you know exactly, all right, here's the move, here's the play, this is what I had in my mind at the shoot. So what does that mean? How do you train yourself to visualize the edit? Think of it this way. The framework that I use is I ask myself, when I'm shooting, will this shot add value to the video I'm creating? Shooting with the edit in mind is also going to help you if you tend to have a habit of overshooting. You're going to walk away from the shoot with less clips. However, those clips are going to be higher value, which leads me into my next tip, and that is to master the basics. Everyone wants to get all crazy and unique with their shots, but the reality is the best real estate videos are comprised of basic shots done really, really well. Looking at my videos, they're all made up of 90% the same fundamental shots. Mastering the basics will then unlock your ability to shoot those crazy shots or the more advanced shots. So what are the fundamental shots? We've got the wide straight push, which is pretty self-explanatory. We're pushing in a straight line. Point A to point B is a straight line. There's the wide curve push, which is very similar to the wide straight, although this time from point A to point B, we're moving in a curve motion, either counterclockwise or clockwise. And lastly is the detail shot, which is typically shot on a 50 or 85 millimeter lens to highlight a specific feature or detail of the property. If you can master these 3 fundamental shots, the quality of your videos will drastically improve. Now, you can't actually master these 3 shots if you don't first master tip number 3, and that is to perfect the ninja walk. The ninja walk is the most important factor for shooting top-tier real estate videos. The primary objective for shooting real estate videos is to get the smoothest footage possible. We want the viewer to be immersed in the viewing experience, and they can't do that if they're distracted by your shaky footage. Now listen closely, because I'm only going to say this once. It's not your gimbal, it's your technique. I used to shoot on the original DJI Ronin S, and I thought that if I upgraded to the RS3 Pro, I was going to magically solve my shaky footage. And then I did. I upgraded. I got the RS3 Pro, and my footage was still shaky because in reality, my ninja walk was just not dialed. No amount of stabilization is going to fix your shaky footage either. So here's my 3-step process to perfecting the ninja walk. First, you want to have your knees bent and your elbows tucked into your sides. Then as you walk, you want to step heel toe while keeping your torso as locked as possible. Now, step number 2 is the real secret sauce here. When you're walking, as you're moving forward, you actually want to lean forward as well. See, a lot of people don't actually struggle with keeping the camera steady with the up and downs. It's more of the side to side movements. And this is caused by your center of gravity being too far back. It's shifted, it's over top of your legs. So that as your legs step, your center of gravity and your weight, your balance shifts with your steps. If you lean forward, your center of gravity is forward, it's going to carry your momentum and your weight is going to be taken off the legs, so you're not going to get those side to side movements. And step number 3 is to walk at a quicker pace. The quicker you walk, the smoother your footage is going to be. Tip number 4 is to shoot with as much distance as possible. I used to only shoot let's call it the highlight portion of the clip. Now, the problem with this is that it limits you to how much of that clip you can actually use. The key to getting those smooth and seamless speed ramp transitions is shooting with maximum distance. A mistake that I see a lot of amateur real estate videographers make, they just don't shoot with enough distance. They're shooting that highlight portion of the clip only. So when they try to speed ramp, it feels very abrupt and jarring because we're going from here to kind of like that, you know what I mean? But if you shoot with a lot of distance, right, from wall all the way through, it's gonna feel nice and smooth. You can apply this to your detail shots as well for maximizing the amount of motion that you can get in those longer shots. Distance is really going to be your best friend. Now, tip number 5 is something that I see a lot of new real estate videographers overlook, and that is to focus on good composition. No amount of transitions or color grading is going to be able to fix or save a poorly composed image. When we look at the film industry, when we look at Hollywood, composition is the fundamental backbone to creating movies, to creating engaging and aesthetic looking visuals. And the same goes for real estate videos. Things like not using the right focal lengths, not having a clear subject, bad verticals, etc. These all attribute to weak composure. So what does good composure look like? When composing your wide shots, first and foremost, you need to have a clear point of focus, a clear subject, a target that the viewer can focus on. Next step is to use the rule of thirds. Now, if you don't know what that is, you can search it up and how to compose with rule of thirds, but it's essentially the grid lines that you have on your camera. You want to use these grid lines to create a balanced image. Now, essentially what that means is that what's in the frame and what's in your composition is not distracting or taking away from your subject, from your central focal point. Your composure should be accentuating the thing that you want to focus on, not taking away from it. A bonus tip is to use leading lines. Use what you have in the property. You can use, bench tops, island tops, cabinetry, walls, floors, hallways, things like that that create leading lines to guide the viewer's eyes to your central focus point. Now, for your detail shots, you want to make sure that you have some foreground in your frame. Just a little something that you can use to kind of reveal that feature or that detail that you want to highlight. This is going to make your detail shots look so much more cinematic. And final tip for composition that applies to any and every shot is to create depth. Having depth in your image is just going to make your shots look so much more dynamic, intentional, and cinematic. To create depth in your shot and your composition, you want to have something in the foreground, the middle, and the background of your image, which leads me to my final tip, which is shooting creative shots. Now, the reason I saved this one for last is because you won't be able to shoot really good creative shots without first understanding and mastering the first 5 points. When it comes to shooting creative shots or shots that we would maybe consider not a typical real estate shot, it is still important to shoot these with intention. It's easy to get carried away with all the craziness and trying to be super creative and unique. At the end of the day, these creative shots, they still need to add value to the final video. They still need to be super smooth and they still need to be well composed. Some of my favorite creative shots to use are the FPV shots where you unlock that roll axis and you get some really unique movements. Shots where you maybe pointed straight up and you're twisting, curving down, revealing something. Shots where you're curving forwards as well as tilting from down to up, and even kind of the crane shot where maybe you're up high, tilted down, and as you come down, as the camera comes down, you're tilting up, and it kind of gives this really cool like vertical parallax effect. At the end of the day, the creative shots is where your unique creative style gets to poke through. If you got value out of this video, you're gonna really enjoy this one right here. And with that all said, I'll catch you in the next video.